How you doing? Good. All right. You got a couple minutes. You can might as well just sign your name there. This is for the registry of deeds for here. What I got? For A&Rs, which we have one tonight.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I saw that. Tons of paperwork.
Okay, great. Thank you. And it is 6:29. Just give it a minute or less. We will be audio recording in addition to recording video this evening for the purposes of making sure we can have a good record of the proceedings in the minutes. So just want everybody to be aware of that. There we go. Okay, it's 6:30, and on Wednesday, May 7, 2025, I'm going to call this meeting of the Brookfield Planning Board to order. For the non-video recording, would members of the board please state their names so we can identify you by your voice.
Chris Gorman.
Steve Carbon.
Jeff King.
Bruce Clark.
And Kevin Arcola. And Lisa Matondi is virtually with us via Teams. All right. First item of business on the agenda is approval of the review and acceptance of the minutes of April 2 meeting of the Planning Board. Anybody have any edits?
The only thing I saw was one of the dates was messed up. Right there.
Ah, yes. Yep. Okay, yep. Under financials, the date should just be 3/11, not 3/8/11.
Yep.
And
In that.
up the top of that same page, item number 9 there, it said, shall not constitute the creation of a multifamily development. It should be, and rather than but, it should say and.
I got something on that page too.
Yep.
Right above financials.
Yep.
Mr. Urkela closed the public hearing.
Ah.
It was closed at 7:26.
So
Just
we
cross
can
out was closed.
Delete the second was closed. Terrific, thank you. And then on the next page, Mr. Urkela informed the board about a notice from the East Brookfield Zoning Board of Appeals. Zoning should be capitalized because we owe it to them. And then under announcements, there will be a special meeting of the planning board, not with. That's all I have. If there are no other corrections to be made, can I have a motion to accept the minutes of the April 2 meeting as corrected?
I'll make a motion to approve the April 2nd, 2025 meeting minutes as adjusted? Corrected? Sure.
Is there a second for that?
I'll second it.
Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying your name and aye.
Chris, I.
Steve, I.
Jeff, I.
Kevin, aye. Thank you. Okay. Next item of business here is Logan Shea, True America Incorporated, for an A&R plan. Is Mr. Shea here? Okay, come on up. All right. So, you've had one of these before? All right, okay. So this is the one that we discussed a couple meetings ago at the end of Mechanic Street, where in order to conform to the dictates of the zoning bylaw, the lot in question needed a little bit more footage in order to have sufficient frontage to be considered a rear lot. it's associated with this lot at number 5 Mechanic Street. So they're taking just about 7 feet from the frontage of number 5, which doesn't increase its or make it non-conforming, and it'll still have plenty of frontage to be conforming in the district in which it's located. But it will make parcel 2 conforming. So in that respect, it will be possible to build. We're not making any guarantees that there might not be other situations with the topography or the soils or anything that would make it unbuildable, but it'll satisfy the zoning bylaw as far as that goes. So, questions? The plan itself has all the required elements. It has the locus up here. It has record owners, True American Incorporated, tax map purposes, zoning requirements, the zoning district in which it's located, place for planning board endorsement, names of the streets, also a zoom in here on the detail of what is being changed, and names of the abutting property owners, and the seal and signature of the surveyor. And the name of the professional engineer who also worked on this.
Okay.
Questions? No? Okay. Okay. Well, if everybody is satisfied, then can we have a motion to endorse the plan as A&R?
I'll make a motion to approve the A&R for 5 and 7 Mechanic Street.
Okay. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor, please signify by saying your name and aye.
Chris, I.
Steve, I.
Jeff, aye.
And Kevin, aye. Okay. And we can sign these copies of the plan. Let's see, this is,
I'm not signing.
yep.
Oh, Bruce, I didn't see it.
Chris, you gonna sign this one?
Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm still on my way on those two. And I think there's one for you still too as well, Jeff. Let's see. Pass them back down that way if that's
Sure.
easier.
Now, strictly speaking, we only need two people who are on the board to sign these, but it's been our practice to have everybody sign them if we're here.
All right. That one needs Jeff's signature.
Yeah, Jeff.
Jeff, you get a couple.
This one's just you.
Give me one of those.
Jeff just has a couple.
Oh, okay. Good.
Silly question.
Sure.
You might have a big blueprint table. I don't use it. I might have it just to bring here. I don't know if the town would want it. I know it would take up more space. That's why I don't use it at my own place, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah, that's the only thing. I don't know where we put it.
Yeah.
But yeah, well, let's talk about that too. People might be interested in the space in the town hall here.
Yeah. I mean, if we ever get upstairs.
All right, so I didn't mention, but he did fill out the application form appropriately and include the fee for the application. So we're all set there. All right. There you go. You're welcome. Thank you. You bet.
Have a good one.
Thank you. Okay, moving right along, we have Jack Fisher here, has a special permit application in. Mr. Fisher? Okay, so we have the application, he's got the required fee, $250, plus fee for the postage for notifying the abutters of the required public hearing. And again, this is the business located in the shed. We talked about this last time, probably be classified as an artisan's crafts shop. And you'll be making replicas of small furniture, shelves, covers. With the, like the candles and the textiles, will you be making those too?
No, not making candles.
Okay, all right. And the textiles,
Correct.
yeah, okay. What was I gonna say? Something else. Are those, the furniture and other items that you'll be making, are those made to order, or are you making them on spec?
Making product and selling what I have.
Yeah, okay.
I used it at my last shop in West Brookfield. That something common, that's what I used to furniture to order, but I'm no longer doing that.
Okay.
I have what I have. If I like it, buy it, if I don't.
Yeah, okay, sounds good. And you're going to have, it's probably just weekends that you're going to be open
Yeah,
for
yep.
customers?
Yeah.
Okay, and probably 8 to 10 customers, you figure, some variable.
I could only
Okay, all right. Okay, well, we'll run through all the details again at the public hearing, which we can schedule for our next planning board meeting, which will be on June 4. It's the day before the annual town meeting. So that meets with your approval, okay, and then we'll schedule it for then, and we'll see you then.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Okay. Justin Hoos, proposal for self-storage facility. Is Mr. Hoos here? No. Okay, well, maybe it's late. Robert Walker, pre-construction consultation. Gay Road. Walker. So you're going to build a house at number 4 Gay?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this is the plan. We have plan including the septic system, which we don't need to see about, but the Board of Health will be interested in.
Who did these? These are great plans. They got everything on here. Jeremy Croto.
Yeah, Jeremy Croto. Yeah, he's good.
Yep.
All right. And,
Dubois.
yeah,
All right, it's just,
looks good. You've got all the setbacks marked out here on the, that's got 30-foot setbacks on the, in the rural residential area where it's located.
numbers, 2 Gay
Yeah, I don't see anything unusual about this.
Pretty typical.
Yeah, it's good. I mean, it doesn't need any kind of a vote as far as we're concerned.
Okay.
So, I think you're good to go. Anything changes, let us know. We'll be happy to help you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Good luck to
Yeah.
Good night.
You
You too.
All right, and the Registry of Deeds signature form for A&Rs, we've already signed that, so that's taken care of. Good. All right, it's only 6:45. I'll entertain a motion, since we can't start the continued public hearing before 7, I'll entertain a motion to take agenda items out of order.
I'll make a motion to take agenda items out of order.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor, please signify by saying your name and I.
Chris, aye.
Steve, aye.
Jeff, I.
Kevin, I. Okay. All right, so let's look at the financials. We have expenditure reports that we got from the accountant, April 10 and April 24. And these sort of reflect the vouchers that we signed back on April 2nd for me and for, what's the other one for? I forgot. Anyway, the reimbursement to me for the registration and postage. So, let's give you a look at that. And then we have a voucher for payment from our consulting engineer, Mr. Scannell, for the work he did reviewing the plan for the Molasses Hill greenhouse. And that is a bill in the amount of $240. Does anybody have any questions about that? Okay, well, I entertain a motion to pay the bill and allow the chair to sign the voucher.
I'll make a motion to approve the expenditure.
Okay,
Second that.
okay. All in favor, please signify by saying your name and I.
Chris, aye.
Steve, aye.
Jeff, aye.
Kevin, I. And Lisa?
Oh, yeah.
I almost forget. I almost forget you were there. Okay, all right, good. I'll sign that now.
How many votes did we take without her?
Well, we had a quorum.
Okay, yeah, we did have a quorum. Good point. All right.
All right. Right, and then we have some correspondence. We have a letter that we received from Sturbridge Planning Board. There's an upcoming public hearing next, let's see, next Monday, I believe. Yeah, next Monday, May 12th at 6:35 p.m. at the Sturbridge Center Office Building located at 301 Main Street in Sturbridge. And this is for an application of the Five Guys Restaurant for property located at 21 New Boston Road, that small mall there. And they want to put up a sign that's larger than normally allowed by the zoning bylaw. So anybody who's interested in that, that's where to go for that one.
Is theirs 6 feet like ours?
I don't know. I don't know what there is. I know that there was a long-running issue about the sign for Yankee Peddler out on 20 for a long time, because that was deemed to be too large.
But not the stuff in the street?
Yeah, yeah. So, anyway, there's that.
Yep.
Let's see. I received a letter from Dunbar PC that we will talk about, I believe, during the public hearing, because it's relevant to that project. And I have another letter which I sent to Mr. Roland Blaze, who had told the town clerk that he wanted to get in touch with me relative to the Tassie fuel business next door to his house. And rather than call him on the phone, because he actually is still a party to a lawsuit regarding that, I thought it best to just write him a letter. And I said, "Dear Mr. Blaze, I'm writing this letter in response to your request to the Brookfield Town Clerk that I contact you on behalf of the Planning Board with respect to a special permit granted to Jeff Tassie of TCP Realty LLC for a business on land that abuts your property. And if you have concerns or complaints about the operation of this business, it may be helpful to raise them directly with the business owner. If, after attempting to resolve your concerns directly with the business owner, you feel that the business owner has been insufficiently responsive to your concerns, you may want to make a complaint to the town's zoning enforcement officer, the ZEO. The ZEO, who has the statutory authority to address violations of the Brookfield zoning bylaw, can determine whether such violation is occurring, and that being the case, address it with the force of law. In the event that the ZEO's response to your complaint is, in your view, unsatisfying, you could make complaint to the Brookfield Select Board, the body that appoints the ZEO. The Planning Board has no enforcement authority with respect to violations of the Brookfield zoning bylaw, nor any authority to direct the ZEO's actions. I hope that this information helps you in resolving your concern. Sincerely, yours truly." So,
Very well said,
yeah.
especially with everything that's still going.
Yep. Okay, and that is everything we have up to the continued public hearing. And we've got 7 minutes before we can actually start that. So. Yes, if you plan on speaking during the public hearing, please sign in over here.
Do you want to see if Justin Haas is here yet? In a minute, once people sign in.
Oh, sure. And we do have a microphone for people to speak into when they want to say something, so that it will be properly recorded on the video recording.
Is the sign in just for questions?
I'm sorry?
You have the sign in just for questions?
Yes. Yes. And some of you are probably here for the last session of that public hearing. And just to remind everybody that if you have questions for the applicant, please present your question to me, and I will ask the applicant for a response, or if he has a response. And that way we're going to avoid any back and forth amongst the people here and the applicant, which will give everybody a better chance of having their questions answered in an organized fashion.
change at the same time. All three of them.
Okay, it's 7 o'clock, so I'm going to open this second session of the public hearing. In accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 40A, and the provisions of the Brookfield zoning bylaws, Section 4, Use Regulation Table, Section 6K, marijuana facilities, Section 8C, site plan approval, Section 8G, medical/adult use marijuana facilities, and Section 13C, special permits. The Brookfield Planning Board will hold a public hearing on an application from Sun Fusions Incorporated for special permit and site plan review for a cannabis cultivation facility located at 6 Molasses Hill Road, Brookfield, Massachusetts, in a rural residential district. Okay. So Sun Fusions Incorporated is the applicant in this case. The landowner is Keith Realty, and the principal in both is Mr. Frome.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I need to ask if Mr. Carmen's planning to recuse himself. Through the chair.
Right. Right.
Mr. Carmen has been a vocal and constant critic of this project. I find it more than unseemly, but patently unfair that he would ever sit on this board to judge it.
Okay. Well, then let us begin with the letter from your other lawyer, Mr. Dunbar. Right. So your concerns were outlined to the planning board in this letter that we received from Dunbar Law PC, dated April 11, 2025. Dear Chair Urkula, please be advised that I represent Sun Fusions Incorporated and David Frome. As you know, Sun Fusions' hearing on April 9 to obtain a special permit did not proceed as expected. Indeed, the hearing was continued until May 7th. I have no expectations about how the hearing will proceed. The May 7th hearing is after the election scheduled for May 5, and as you also know, there are presently 2 seats on the planning board that will be filled as a result of the election. Thus, there will be a newly constituted planning board that is going to consider Sun Fusion's request for a special permit on May 7th. Sun Fusions is rightly concerned that a newly constituted planning board will not have the sufficient knowledge and experience with its project. The presently constituted planning board, which has met numerous times on Sun Fusions' project over the last several years, has been fair-minded and well-informed regarding his project. A lot of the planning board's institutional knowledge will be lost once a newly constituted planning board is in place after the election. Equally, if not more concerning, is that leading opponent of Sun Fusion's project is Stephen Carmen. Mr. Carmen will likely be a member of the newly constituted planning board on May 7th. Mr. Carmen has taken every opportunity to oppose Sun Fusion's project at every planning board meeting, the Conservation Commission, the Board of Health, and the Select Board, and has been a vocal leader of the anti-cannabis coalition in Brookfield. It is highly unlikely that Mr. Carmen will recuse himself at the May 7th hearing when Sun Fusion's special permit request is presented. Moreover, there is no doubt how Mr. Carmen will vote on Sun Fusion's request for a special permit. Also, we've learned that there may be a so-called sticker campaign instigated by the anti-cannabis coalition to attempt to remove Jeff King. There is currently no alternate on the planning board, thus the expected newly constituted planning board after the election will be comprised of individuals that have been openly hostile to Sun Fusion's project. I am requesting, in the interest of fairness, that a special meeting, as has been done in the past on Sun Fusion's project, be scheduled for a time convenient for the planning board before the election. A special meeting before the election will allow the already knowledgeable and fair-minded planning board to consider honestly Sun Fusion's special permit request. To allow a newly constituted planning board comprised of openly anti-cannabis members to consider Sun Fusion's special permit request would undermine the entire process and certainly would call into question the integrity of the planning board's decision regarding Sun Fusions. I look forward to hearing you. Well, he did. This is my reply. Dear Attorney Dunbar, the Planning Board is in receipt of your letter of 11 April regarding the Sun Fusion special permit application. The continuation of the public hearing for this application is scheduled for 7 May 2025 at 7 p.m. We do not plan to reschedule this continuation for a date earlier than that. However, we have recommended to the Brookfield Select Board that Mr. Clark, the outgoing Planning Board member who will not be standing for re-election, be appointed as the associate member to the Planning Board, and Mr. Clark has indicated that he is agreeable to this. Doing so will provide continuity to our discussions and deliberations on the merits of the Sun Fusion's application. Although this action may not fully satisfy your concerns, I believe it to be a fair and reasonable response to them. Regards, yours truly. So, that's what you're referring to. Mr. Carmen has written a response as a private citizen, because he wrote this on May 4, 2025. And among the public documents for this public hearing is a letter from Ronald Dunbar, counsel for David Frome, and we went through that. I would take exception to the statements therein. I would like to provide a response since the letter calls me out by name. First, to note, the letter states Sun Fusions is rightly concerned that a newly constituted planning board will not have the sufficient knowledge and experience with its project. The presently constituted planning board, which has met numerous times on Sun Fusion's project over the last several years, has been fair-minded and well-informed regarding the project. A lot of the planning board's institutional knowledge will be lost once a newly constituted planning board is in place after the election. Mr. Carmen writes, I believe it is more accurate to state Mr. Frome and his associates met with the planning board in prior years, not for this project, but to discuss amending Brookfield's marijuana zoning bylaw and to assess operating a marijuana retail location in the floodplain district. All current planning board members who also participated in those past meetings are anticipated to remain on board after the town election. As such, the planning board is not losing any institutional knowledge, and for the sake of impartiality, the special permit application should be assessed independently of one's involvement in those past decisions. In my opinion, the only relevant institutional knowledge is from one prior meeting, the special permit application review and public hearing on 4/9/2025. This letter then makes allegations about me, and we've heard those already. And I read it, and Steve goes on, I am not the serial opponent that Mr. Frome claims. I am not anti-cannabis nor leader of any coalition. I stated my most relevant concerns about Sun Fusion's project in the Planning Board's first public hearing. It is apparent Mr. Frome has taken exception to my public hearing statements as well as concerns I expressed to the Select Board last July about the host community agreements and his conduct, and my statements to the Board of Health last October in support of regulations to protect the public health from known nuisances of marijuana facilities. I believe anyone who would be impacted by industrial cannabis facilities operating near their homes or cares about their neighbors who would be impacted deserves their concerns to be heard and addressed. Labeling individuals such as myself as opponents is a setback to civil discourse. And then he goes on to reference the sticker campaign referenced by Mr. Dunbar and says, this letter is the only time I've ever heard of a sticker campaign against Jeff King. If the conspiracy is true, it is difficult to imagine it succeeding given the limited interest in public service. My reason for running for the other planning board position is to serve an important role which would otherwise be empty on the ballot. My support extends to Jeff King in his re-election, Bruce Clark, who will continue service as an associate member, and all other planning board members. Whether we agree or disagree, I value their willingness to contribute to our town and assume they will serve fairly and impartially unless proven otherwise. Marijuana cultivation and manufacturing are new industries for Brookfield, and proposing them in a rural residential area is far from a trivial approval. Public good should not be compromised for the applicant's desire to unduly rush the special permit decision. Okay, so that's where we stand now. So we do have Mr. Gorman, myself, Mr. King, welcome back, and Mr. Clark as the associate.
And Matondi.
And Mr. Matondi here. So, Steve, how do you feel about this? Do you feel that you would recuse yourself from this?
I don't feel a reason to recuse myself from the discussion.
From the discussion, okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Foundational. Are you in a butter?
No.
Okay.
Okay.
But you own property on Molasses Hill.
I own property that is about 4/5 of a mile from the location, as do hundreds of people in this town.
Clearly, it's up to the gentleman. My objections.
Yeah, well, it is, according to town council, it's my prerogative to say who among the board members is going to be considering this. And for the sake of limiting possible grounds for appealing a negative decision, I would like to have Mr. Clark, the associate, sit in with the other 4 members of the board. And you sit down if that's okay with you.
Yep. No opposition.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Since we're talking about letters here, I'll just go through a few that we have received commenting on this project.
Chair, quick question.
Yes.
Sorry. I just want to, since we just decided that, we decided, can he be a part of it? He can still be a part of it? He can still ask questions, be a part of the board as, or is he not?
During the public hearing, he can take part. Once we close the public hearing and we go into deliberation, that would be for
Okay.
the rest of us.
I just want to make
Okay.
sure we're on the same page.
Okay. Because we're all still members of the public.
Correct. I don't want to, if we're starting, I want to make sure we follow through so we don't get into the problem we don't want to hit.
Absolutely.
All right, good. Thank you. Continue.
No, okay. So we received a email from Danielle Lemieux. Wish me to read this. During the April 9th public hearing concerning Sun Fusions Incorporated, it was stated that an earlier issue involving a sober house resulted in the applicant receiving funds from the state. However, a publicly available article dated February 18, 2018 describes a different outcome involving a prior business associated with the applicant. According to the article, Precision Testing Laboratories Incorporated, a Southbridge-based company formerly associated with Mr. David Frome, agreed to settlements with both Massachusetts and Connecticut, $400,000 and $657,000 respectively, related to allegations of billing for unnecessary urine drug tests. Public records indicate the company was also barred from participating in Medicaid programs in both states for 10 years. Then Massachusetts Attorney General Maura Healey was quoted in the article saying the Precision Testing Laboratories marketed unnecessarily complex drug testing packages to sober houses in violation of Mass Health regulations. The Connecticut settlement similarly involved allegations of submitting false claims to the Connecticut Medical Assistance Program, including Medicaid. It's important to note that settlements of this nature could be made without any admission of wrongdoing. Nonetheless, the facts surrounding these enforcement actions and regulatory penalties are part of the public record. Given this background, I have concerns about the suitability of awarding a marijuana cultivation or manufacturing license to a business led by someone previously involved with an organization that faced significant compliance issues. I believe our town should prioritize applicants with clear records of regulatory integrity and transparency. And she also adds the URL for the full article that she referenced. So, okay, I understand comments of this nature, of which we've received a few. This is not the forum for that, although I recognize the importance of this and how it can be of concern to a number of people. We work with land use. Character of an applicant is not something that is in our purview to judge. That is more appropriately something to be addressed by the Cannabis Control Commission. It is part of their background check process. So, and if anybody wishes to bring this to their attention, they have means of doing that on the internet. Going on, we have a note by email from Paul Metcalf from 33 Weber Road. While I recognize the popular argument for bringing more industry into our town, no industry should have the right to impose itself on one of Brookfield's residential neighborhoods. Surely someone with means to erect a commercial enterprise can propose a location elsewhere where town zoning accommodates it. Backers of this project must know their industry does not belong on Molasses Hill Road. On the contrary, I can imagine other uses for this site offering potential to support our community while complementing its lovely residential setting. If my voice counted, I would oppose permitting this current proposal for development at 6 Molasses Hill Road. As a concerned resident unable to attend Wednesday night's meeting, I thank you for this opportunity to express my opinion. Okay. Just note that the town zoning does allow, via the special permit process, location of such cannabis facilities in rural residential districts, but it's on a case-by-case basis. Another missive from Tara Fitzgerald, who is at 39 Molasses Hill Road. I have attended many of these meetings around from SunFusion since last year, including the first public hearing on Wednesday, April 9th. I have serious concerns for my family and fellow residents regarding Fromm's involvement with lawsuits and an inadequate application for this special permit. And Fromm has been involved with a large number of lawsuits against its previous businesses, current ongoing lawsuit against our own town, lawsuits involving associated persons in town, previous businesses, cites the Safe Haven sober houses, where he did not have suitable permits, and there were complaints about overcrowding, building, and zoning violations, drug abuse, and registered sex offenders on the premises, not to mention the deaths on his properties, and precision testing laboratories. And then current lawsuit against our town of Brookfield, against the Conservation Commission, lawsuit against community members, no trespassing orders against several different Brookfield board members. How will any facility of Fromm's be monitored to ensure he is abiding by the laws and permits if he continues to place no trespassing orders on all town personnel? Lawsuits involving associated persons in town, against the town involving Chris Kelleher. Kelleher is associated with Fromm, she says. Inadequate application for special permit while SunFusions verbally spoke to missing details and resident concerns at the last meeting. The act of leaving such details unwritten gives the impression that he is not trustworthy. The initial SunFusions application for the special permit was incomplete. SunFusions left out many details around odor, light pollution, water usage, water pollution and noise, inadequate response regarding air pollution. SunFusion spoke about using exhaust fans. However, according to research, exhaust fans' primary function is to regulate the internal climate by removing excess heat, humidity, and stale air while drawing in fresh, cooler air from outside. What will be in the air that is removed from the facility? How far will it travel? How will this stale air impact the wetlands and neighbors around it? Due to previous business practices and numerous lawsuits, I have concerns regarding Fromm's unethical behavior, in addition to his intimidating and threatening nature. This intimidating behavior is why I've chosen to stay quiet thus far. I have felt extremely uncomfortable about possible repercussions that could come from voicing my opinion and concerns on this matter. I am not confident that the residents of Brookfield can trust that lawsuits will not be involved with SunFusion's marijuana cultivation. The likelihood of such unethical practices will leave us, neighbors, and the Brookfield community vulnerable. I do not feel safe raising my family down the street from any establishment of Fromm's. Ultimately, the Brookfield bylaw prohibits manufacturing in rural residential areas. A variance should not be granted for this bylaw. Brookfield is not the community for SunFusion's marijuana cultivations. Thank you for your time. Right. We are not granting variances. We do not have use variances in our zoning bylaw. That's one thing. And the lawsuit, there are many lawsuits that are not detailed here, but the reasons for those are also not given, so we can't say much about that. Note from Nelson Dupuis of 15 Rice Corner Road. As a resident of Brookfield, located in the vicinity of the proposed cannabis facility, I have some concerns, questions for the planning board relating to odor and light pollution the proposed cannabis business may have on our residential neighborhood. Not being familiar with any of these facilities, I reached out to 3 towns in Massachusetts that have existing cannabis growing facilities, North Brookfield, Uxbridge, and Monson, to find out if they have received any feedback from residents regarding odors. North Brookfield said they tend to receive odor complaints during the summer when it is hot. Uxbridge said they have 10 growers located in their town. The town has received so many odor complaints, a hotline, over 65 through the hotline alone, was established to handle the calls. Most of the complaints are related to a single grower who uses a greenhouse-style building. This grower uses carbon air scrubbers and a spray counteractant compound as the air is vented out of the building. A few months ago, this grower was using a chlorine mitigation system, but it was removed due to a spill. The other 9 growers are using totally enclosed buildings. We were not able to get any information on the Monson facility. Observations. Myself and 2 other residents from Brookfield visited the exterior of 2 cannabis facilities to directly observe if there were any odors or traffic. North Brookfield, only a slight skunk-like odor was observed near a hot dog stand on Winter Street. Minimal traffic was observed. Uxbridge, there was a very strong skunk-like odor while driving by on Route 146, which is approximately 400 feet away from the greenhouse. The wind was blowing in that direction on that day. We traveled further downwind to a subdivision which was about 1,400 feet away, and although not as strong, could still detect odors coming from the greenhouse. During our 2 visits of approximately 45 minutes, large trucks were seen entering and leaving that facility, about 1 every 5 to 10 minutes. These observations are by no means a full-blown scientific investigation, but it left us with concerns about placing a facility like this in Brookfield. Questions. Does anyone know of a facility within Massachusetts with the same building structure and odor remediation system as the one being proposed at 6 Molasses Hill, with a successful track record of odor and light mitigation? If yes, it should be visited. Is there a licensed engineering professional reviewing or presenting the systems being proposed who will stand by its performance? Please note that the problematic grower in Uxbridge had to shut down many of its bays until a better odor solution was put in place. What action will Brookfield take if the facility is approved but does not live up to the no odor promises being made? What if there is light pollution and the shades being discussed do not work or are not implemented as promised? I am hoping that the upcoming meeting will provide more answers and information so the correct decision can be made for our town. Respectfully, Nelson Dupuy. I just note that the facility that's being proposed here is not an open greenhouse. It is more of like the fully enclosed structures that were referenced in the 9 other growers, other than the problematic one in Uxbridge. So,
Is Nelson here?
Yes, I am, but you read it very well. So, but the facility in Uxbridge is enclosed. It's not wide open. It's four walls seem to be metal or building-like, but when you Google Earth down on it, you can see the actual fabric greenhouse.
Yeah. The greenhouse, a greenhouse that vents directly to the outside without fans, needs to have a lot of scrubbers in place. I believe it's like 8 to 10 per acre or something like that, but it's expensive. This structure is not open. It doesn't vent directly to the outside. And any venting, according to the design, that's been shown us, is through a filter system. So, and the filters, generally, from what I've read, include a particulate filter and a carbon filter. So, and the applicant has also said that he's planning on using another chlorine dioxide material to negate odors too. So that's the plan there.
Is there a designer on the system who speaks to it and its ability to operate properly?
I don't know, Dave, did you have a designer?
Protocol?
They're designed specifically for the buildings they're put in.
Say,
Yes.
okay.
That's not what I asked. Is there a specific engineer who's designing it for this facility?
Who designed that?
Who's going to say the system?
This is designed by the vendors, like so many equipments are, and that's done on their end. It's not something we design.
Okay, so who's the vendor for your?
I haven't chosen a final vendor. There are a couple of options. They
Okay,
both
so
do the
this is a design drawing, but you haven't settled on a vendor yet, as yet.
I haven't awarded a contract to a vendor.
Okay, all right.
So you have no guarantee of a system to approve now to really evaluate. And this is probably the key point of most of the complaints is the odor.
Right.
It's kind of.
Would you like me to respond?
Yes, please.
So I've always recognized that obviously the biggest problem with cultivation is odor. And the scrubbers you talk about and the carbon filters will be in place. That's kind of automatic, but they're just not enough. Most of the industry has not adopted CLO2, but as I've told you before, I've been to California to visit facilities that are far bigger than this one. And I was not able to detect any odor. I was a convert once I'd seen it. I didn't really believe it till I'd seen it. CLO2 has been in use in this country and around the world for decades. It doesn't require special permitting. It's sold by people who are representative of factories usually, and they have engineers that design the system so that it covers the entire facility, so that odor just can't exist. It's a chemical thing. There can't be a spill because it's gas. It's not. There's no chlorine brought onto the sodium chloride is brought onto the site at levels of about half of what the normal pool shock would be, and then it's electrolyzed and turned into a gas at very minute quantities. So, for instance, we know that ClO2 is explosive at 10%, but we'll be dealing with ClO2 in the air at roughly 2 millionths of 1%. So it is really quite dilute, and it's amazingly effective. It's also very expensive. That's why these facilities haven't adopted it. And they're trying to spray stuff in the air and use scrubbers. It's just not going to work.
Right.
I have no desire to live a life of constant nuisance and fighting. When I designed this program, I went straight to ClO2. It costs about $250,000 to $300,000 compared to $1,500 for the charcoal. But I am truly a believer that it will work. And I'll tell you, if it doesn't work, to the extent that it's a nuisance and I'm getting constant complaints and fines, then I'm going to stop. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
I'm not living a life that way. I believe I can do it better, and that's why I want to give it a try.
Yeah, even though this is a special permit public hearing, and if the use were granted under the special permit, the facility would still be subject to the nuisance bylaw that we have in the zoning bylaw. So noise, odors, light, things like that. And it would still be subject to that, and any remediation would be on the applicant. It'll be up to the applicant to do, and if they didn't, then, as Mr. Fromm just said, he would be fined and could be ultimately taken to court if he didn't fix the problem. So.
If I can add to that,
Yes.
The host community agreement between the town and Sun Fusions also has odor control provisions, and pervasive odor problems could end up causing the HCA to be terminated.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that's been discussed with the select board as well. But.
I understand the concerns, I really do, but there's no profit in spending millions of dollars just to get shut down and put out of business. So I have come to believe that I can do it better.
Okay.
And if I'm wrong, it won't be long till you find out and deal with it.
Could I say one more thing to the
sure.
board? I'm, as I said, we're not here. I'm not here to personally debate with anyone here. I'm a CM. This is what I do for a living. I can't go for, when you say something is going to work, you have to have the engineering behind it and the design behind it, and then you have to validate the startup of the system to make sure it works. I don't even think that technology exists in this industry right now.
Okay.
But I may be wrong, and if it is, fine, but what is going to happen, what's the process going to be when it doesn't work? And what I'm hearing is it kicks over to the health department if it doesn't work.
No, it kicks over to locally to the zoning enforcement officer, and also to the state, the Cannabis Control Commission, that has to resolve these complaints as well. And if they feel that the complaints are valid and not being resolved, not being attended to by the applicant, they can suspend their license.
Yeah, well, that could be good enough for us all to live with.
I respect the I respect the gentleman's question, I do. But when it comes to engineering, it's all speculative until you've actually got a building. They have to come in and conform the system to the building to make absolutely sure that it does work. The general parameters are well known. It's in use in semiconductor industry, meat rendering, hospitals, nursing homes. The CO2 works, and the professionals make it work. And if it doesn't, then they tweak it till it does work. But I think they usually get it on the first try because it's very powerful. The other thing I will say is this is not unexplored territory. I've made 3 or 4 invitations to fly members of the board, Mr. Carmen personally, anyone who wanted to go to the same greenhouse I visited in California. No one seemed interested, but I was perfectly willing to take them out there and give them a first-hand look. So it's not speculative. You know, it's in place, being used in many, state-of-the-art facilities, which are finding that they're avoiding these community problems by making that investment up front.
I do believe you, Mr. Crop. I do believe you that you want to not cause a smell mitigation problem. And most of us aren't going to know whether that's going to work or not. We're just not there. The professionals are. So I got to bring up a big problem with your plan. We don't have stamped drawings. There's no engineered stamps on these.
Which plans are you referring to, sir?
The floor plan for the head house and the greenhouse.
Stamped drawings were not requested, neither were they part of the preparation. It's well and good to say that my application was incomplete. However, everything that is in the bylaw as a requirement for application was submitted. Stamped drawings are the purview of the building official and the architect, as are other things that were brought up before. It's a little out of the bailiwick of land use, in my opinion, but there are stamped drawings for the head house, and there will be drawings for the greenhouse. Stamped are not required.
So I see the stamp, I see the professional engineer for the layout. I get it. So the issue, what we're dealing with, unfortunately, and I don't want to cause an issue, I just want to make sure we get on the same page. You're applying for a license to do something with the land that we have to approve everything that has to do with it. We approve the landscape, we approve the lighting, we approve, it's everything in time. So yes, one of your plans has a stamp, but the head house, the actual plan that has stuff, I just want to finish. This gentleman brought up a great point. We're thinking your system works because somebody says it. Totally believe it if it had a stamp with the guy saying, this is what we're going to propose, and you don't have to award the bid. I've bid on countless jobs that I don't have the bid, and I bid on a system. There's an engineered stamp that I'm bidding on that's already designed. We don't have any HVAC stuff in this that's going to show us kind of like what this gentleman did a lot of work going around, and that's why I brought you. I appreciate it, Mr. Nelson. That was very nice of you to go around and take that effort. So that is one issue that if mitigation and smell is just promised, that's great. But I feel like we need something besides like an engineer to say, like MEP plans, mechanical, electrical, plumbing. That they give you the plans. We know what you're kind of doing with your building, because that's what we're approving. We're not just approving the outside building. We're approving the whole operation, unfortunately, because it's a special permit for that.
Yes and no.
Well, we can say you can't do this there. We can say you can't do that there. We can say you can't. You can only be. We can say a lot because it's a special permit. It's not. It's a total different realm. And I feel that just his point that the engineered I saw the stamp on this one because I always just give it a quick glance. I didn't see it on the other ones, and I never even looked until now, until he brought it up, and I just didn't see it. So that's one thing we might have to,
Okay, well, I can help you out with that now,
Yeah.
because you mentioned HVAC. There isn't any. It's all split system, so it's all electric. There's no air discharge, so that's not happening. As far as the building permit, that's not Sun Fusion's purview. They're not the builder. They're just leasing the space. Now we can talk about odor mitigation and all those things, but as far as structural requirements, that's a building official thing. That's why it wasn't included in the package.
But you're gonna have to have makeup there.
Sorry?
You're gonna have to have makeup there. You can't just keep the same
Yeah,
air.
no. There's,
So there is HVAC.
there's some, but it's
Yeah.
all CO2 treated, so the same kind of principle applies.
Which is what I would love to show everybody here, so everybody knows that we're taking the right steps with you, doing what you, Mr. Fromm,
I have
totally believe you.
I have absolutely no
totally believe
problem
You're
with
gonna
you-
do exactly what you promised and what you said. You want, because you.
Well, then make it conditional.
I agree, but I don't want to get to the point 2 years down the road that the conditions are being addressed when we're here now asking for simple stuff. I mean, engineered plans are kind of required. They're required.
Can I just clarify, are you saying
Absolutely.
that they're required by the rules and regulations of the planning board?
I mean, you can't submit something without an engineered stamp. You can't just hand me a piece of paper and say, this is my plan. Like Jeremy Croto just signed the stamp, the A&R. That's just an A&R. That's an approval not required. This is a special permit. Do you see what I'm saying? The A&R, we just pretty much pass on, and they have to have a stamp. So I'm gonna need a stamp on some of these plans. But,
Good point.
yeah.
It would be helpful to have that as a matter of it being more of a finished proposal.
I would need much more specific information about what kind of stamp you're talking about. The head house already has a stamp. That stamp is enough to get a building permit. There is no requirement. Anyway, I would need to know more about what you're talking about, because everything that happens gets stamped. All of the engineering gets stamped. Everything, the CLO2 does not get stamped. That is simply something you purchase at your option and at your discretion. That is a private thing.
You would not get a building permit without these plans stamped. You will not.
I did not
pay.
apply for a building permit.
You would not get it.
I applied for a special permit for a use.
But you said these plans were good enough for a building permit. They're not.
No, those plans are not good.
Okay.
That's a floor plan.
Yeah.
I have stamped plans for building, but not included with a special permit application because it's not requested in the bylaw.
Well, I did
And no
request
one requested
more
it.
information last time we were here. I said,
And there's-
everybody was here, it's on video. I said I wanted more information, MEPs. MEP is mechanical, electrical, plumbing. It's a plan. It comes with almost every building. And the reason is these guys have questions about what your plan is. We don't even have an HVAC setup on here. We don't have, and I thought we were getting new plans this time. And the only reason I thought we were getting new plans is I thought we kind of urged you. Like, we're willing to work with you. We just need information that we can give to everybody that's hard information. Like I said last time, these aren't in here, this isn't in here, I would like this in here. So we know. Just because I want to make sure our citizens are getting what they want out of this special permit, which you're asking for. It's not like,
Okay, I think there's a couple of different things, Mr. Chair. First of all, in talking about a cannabis permit, the most important thing that we've discussed is odor mitigation. And none of the things you're referring to will impact the odor mitigation that I have planned. So that's probably one reason why I haven't included. The other reason is Sun Fusions is not building the building. Sun Fusion is leasing a building. Sun Fusion is not building a greenhouse, it's leasing a greenhouse. Sun Fusions goes away tomorrow, the greenhouse and the building are still there. The people who review those plans for construction are the building official, the engineer, and the architect. It's really not something that I've ever heard of coming before the planning board in terms of specifying, kind of all the things you're talking.
the only reason is mitigation, is the odor mitigation.
Sure, and
Otherwise,
that's why I'm
it
saying.
wouldn't be.
No, I understand. And what I'm saying to you is the odor mitigation in the greenhouse is exactly the same as in the head house, so that it's 100% covered by CLO2 and all. I don't care what kind of HVAC they put in. I specified split system. I don't care if they put in full HVAC.
Yep.
That air is going to be treated before it exits the building. It can't help it. Once CLO2 comes in contact with a volatile organic compound, it's game over. That's just the way it is. And then if ClO2 leaves the building and comes in contact with a nitrogen compound, which is everywhere around us, it's gone. So it is going to react with all VSCs and VOCs, regardless of the kind of air conditioning you want to put in. It simply doesn't have a bearing. So I guess I didn't recognize the importance of that because I thought I'd covered it. I obviously didn't. Covering it now, I'm telling you that it either works or it doesn't. It doesn't matter the MEP. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and I've got trouble. If it does work, then I'm right, and everyone else hopefully admits it a year from now. But it's really not a question of what kind of electrical and plumbing and air conditioning they put in. Really isn't. ClO2 is the answer to this industry's problem. They just haven't figured it out yet.
Okay.
Oh, they have on the West Coast. But
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
I think Mr. Fromm is missing the point from the board. We want an engineer's stamp that says this will work.
there's no such thing.
Okay,
I mean, they don't do that.
fine.
That's not how
Fine.
Can I clarify, when you say this will work, what specifically is the this?
Odor control, whatever it is.
Okay,
It's
so
got to be a study or something, right? There has to be. So where's that? Where are the studies?
I think what's failing here is the lack of expertise. That you said you're going to be hiring the people with the expertise to run this place. I assume that there's also people you're hiring to design it, put it together. No?
The people you hire design it and put it together, and the people you hire are very, very busy people who don't hire, who are not available to come out and look at empty lots. I mean, they actually need a structure to work on. So that would all, that would be after the fact, and I don't mind it being conditional, but I will remind the board that ClO2 is not a requirement of the marijuana license. The scrubbers and charcoal that the chair talked about are adequate for this industry. I'm going a step way beyond what the industry does to ensure that the odor is killed.
So, Mr. Chair, we could approve or not approve a building. Come back to us for use.
I don't need a building. It's an agricultural building. It's a building. But
Yeah,
I need to
that's-
get approval for the use. But
Yeah.
you can make it conditional on
Yeah.
showing you.
We wouldn't need someone to actually be physically here if they were able to write a letter that described how they were going to put this facility together.
Right.
And gave us some data on exactly how the HVAC, odor control, and so forth would work. That's common approach. Not everybody who's an engineer shows up at forums like this in person, but they often do send their opinions and their analysis of designs in written form.
And does that require a continuation of yet another public hearing, or is that just information that can be provided to the board?
Well, we can talk about the continuation of public hearing too. On that note, have you yet received the provisional license from the CCC? And
It's still pending.
you actually made application though, right? When did you make application?
It was deemed complete months ago. I don't recall offhand the exact date.
Months ago. Okay, so they're behind. They're supposed to reply within 90 days. They haven't done anything yet. Okay. The zoning bylaw requires that we have a provisional license at least in hand before we could possibly grant the special permit for this marijuana facility. If you don't have it, then we're going to probably have to continue this hearing to another time.
But if I may, I believe that was a waiver that we had requested, and I think there was discussion about that at a previous meeting, and the chair of the board had indicated that if the licensure was simply pending, that wouldn't be an issue in moving forward with the special permit here.
It is a submission requirement, and under the circumstances where this is this is a fairly controversial matter in some aspects. I think it would be better to have that in hand before we go on to make any decisions regarding the special permit. In fact, the guidance issued from the CCC says that they understand that very often a special permit cannot be or will not be issued until after a provisional license is received, and the issuance of that permit will be something they'll check in the time between the issuance of the provisional permit and the final permit.
That is true. You cannot get a final license without the local permitting being in place. I mean, I would just submit that for that reason, we would propose that there's no prejudice to the town in moving forward with this hearing.
No prejudice is not my concern in this case. Yes, Pat.
I have two questions.
This is Pat Washburn. Where do you live? Maple Street?
Maple Street.
Okay.
I have two questions.
To me. To me.
Okay. One, Sun Fusion is owned by Mr. Frog.
That's correct.
Okay. Who owns the land?
Keith Realty, which is
Also owned by Mr. Fromm.
Yes.
So for the purposes of disclosure here, Mr. Fromm is using one company to lease the property from another company that he owns. And he keeps sitting there and he keeps saying that Sun Fusion, which is the company that's going to be doing the manufacturing, is either the 100% shareholder, the limited liability or proprietor of those properties. So, I mean, let's not beat around the bush. We're not a huge metropolis here. We're a very small town. So when you're talking about Sun Fusion, and you're talking about Key Realty, and you're talking about this or that, let's refer to it all as Mr. Fromm, so that people don't get confused that one company is leasing from another company.
Of this arrangement that you'd come to.
Sure.
I'm assuming it's for tax purposes. I mean, I'm an accountant and I do taxes, and I'm assuming, so he's trying to be
I would just say, like, as a general note, I think we all know that business are very in the United States, and they matter, and you can't ignore them. And it is very common practice property to be held by a separate entity than an operating company for all sorts of reasons. And there's nothing unusual there. There's nothing. Practice always advise clients to follow a plan similar to that.
What sort of legal protections does it afford the applicant?
The most obvious one is liability protection. So it can, if there's legal liability against the operating company, it can provide protections for the real property. But there's also other interests that there can be, oftentimes there's partial owners of one or the other that don't want to be conflated with the other parts, with the other company. I mean, there might be many reasons, but liability protection is the most obvious reason.
Okay.
That was educational. I'll give you my clear answer. I bought the land 20 years ago. It went straight into Keith Realty. That's who owns it, so that's who's building the building. And if anything ever happened to Sun Fusions, I don't lose the land over it. That's all.
Kevin, you've got a woman up back and hold her hand up for.
Oh, I can see you're behind the pole.
And you didn't clarify the operation here of speaking.
Is there a 2-minute time limit? Sorry, not to interrupt.
3.
Three.
Taking my time. No. All right. So I just wanted to mention I worked in environmental engineering for a while, and there are different ways that they can test equipment and set up engineering, and I completely agree. Make sure that we have approved plans. The town of Lowell, Massachusetts, marijuana facilities, they have their own bylaws they have set up at the time, so I encourage all of you to help create those, as well as they require a mitigation odor plan for approving. They require a wastewater, because there's actually a reservoir that's very close to this plant, and that feeds the Quabbin, so. And they also require a water use. So a facility this size takes a significant amount of water, and during July, when we're all fighting for water, what is going to go on with that facility, and what is the town going to do when we're taking residents versus agricultural?
Right. And you are?
Kristen Reeves Hall.
Okay.
So Mr. Fromm was nice enough to address the water issue. He addressed it with a letter. I'm trying to find it. It's aquifer.
Sun Fusion's aquifer email.
Yeah. Dear board members, this is from Mr. Fromm. Dear board members, the local DEP office in concert with the Boston office reported back no negative information regarding the adequacy of the aquifer, which provides water to wells on Molasses Hill Road. Similar results were had from online searches and state mapping programs. Aquifers are recharged primarily through rainfall, snow melt, and leaching into the soil and from surface water bodies. Worthy of note is that our property contains a rice reservoir, a 50-acre water body containing approximately 40 million gallons of water. We think it's certain that that this property contributes more than water supply to wells in the area than any of its neighbors, and surely far more than it would draw under this proposal. It's a lot of water, sir.
That's water use without the water contamination.
Is there an actual report that they reported back to you? So there must be a report.
Call down phone.
Huh?
Here's your name.
Marbell.
They had no record. There's nothing to report. There's been no record of any inadequacy in our end. But he was kind enough to enlighten me that the reservoir contributes a great deal to the aquifer.
Yeah.
So that was part of their feedback, was the reservoir.
The reservoir is, 40 million gallons of water, so I guess if I needed 2,800 a day, I could do it.
Yeah, that would take a lot of days. That would take a lot of days.
I mean, if the wells went dry on Molasses Hill, I guess I could use the reservoirs.
Now, the effluent from the processing of the marijuana, I've seen some of the details of how that's to be handled, and of course the CCC has a lot of regulations about how it's supposed to be handled. But the liquid is going into a tight tank. Am I correct about that?
It's a regulatory question.
That's going into a tank?
Tight tank for holding until picked up for disposal, wastewater.
Right, the wastewater.
Wastewater, and the solids are going into where?
Well, solids can, if they're compostable, they can be composted. They cannot be composted. They need to be, they would be secured in the dumpster and then transported off-site.
And they have to be mixed with other materials so that they
can be rendered unusable.
Right.
So mixed with dirt or some sort of matter.
I thought I remembered from the regulations.
So part of the mediation plan would also have how you're getting rid of that different waste and frequency and use and estimations. So is there a plan or is it just verbal here?
It's just verbal.
There's a written waste management plan.
Is there?
There's a whole set of SOPs.
Did it have a regular schedule for pickup or?
No, it wouldn't have to.
No. Okay.
It's going to depend on the amount of material.
That's what I thought.
How frequently you get rid of it. It can be thrown away in municipal waste.
Yeah.
So your dump truck that empties your dumpster would take this away as well. Once it's been mixed thoroughly with usually the growing material from the discarded growing material.
Yeah.
And it's the fan leaves primarily in the stems that you're talking about.
Right.
They don't contain as much odor, but composting might produce odor just because compost produces odor, so I probably just want to have it remove.
So, yep. Jake, do we have anybody online who wants to comment?
You got a woman on the bed.
I don't want the virtual attendees to feel left out here.
I don't see anybody's hand up.
Okay, Beth,
Yeah, so this is kind of in line with the email.
do we have the microphone? Who has the microphone? Yeah. Who's got it?
This
Go.
is in line with the email that was brought
What's your
up.
name, man? Beth Olson.
Beth Olson, 33 Molasses, not in a butter. This is in line with the emails that were brought forward, the one with the aquifer information as well as the traffic one. They're both emails directly from the business owner. They don't have any points of contact. They say, I did communicate with these departments and they said this, but there's no correspondence from those departments or anything like that. So it's basically his word with those communications. So I wanted that to be brought forward as well.
So the traffic study was an actual study that the town had, right? It was a town-provided study?
Through CMRPC.
Yes, oh, well,
Yeah,
we paid for it.
yeah, we paid for it.
But I think he said there was a department that said it was sufficient.
He said DEP.
Yeah.
Okay, so, well, I'm just gonna address the first part. So the first part was the study he was nice enough just to get was we asked how many people actually drive on the road. So he reached out, got a CMRPC, which is Central Mass Planning, Regional Planning Board. They did a study back in 2009?
2019.
2019. And it pretty much had 10 to 20 people on the road, not many. Definitely, I don't see his traffic causing that much because of the process that he's doing. I've worked at cannabis facilities before doing my field of work as a fire alarm technician. So I see what goes in and out. I see how it works. It's not, it's more in line to what he's saying. You grow, you cut, you grow, you cut. It's a lot of in-betweens, There's not much going on most days at these places. It's just cyclical timing. So I don't see him providing that much traffic. But what were you saying about the somebody said something, sorry?
Just in general, those emails were direct communications from him. They didn't include points of contact. They didn't include any correspondences, like if they were email correspondences, copies of those emails that could be redacted.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And that's like going along with the engineered stamp. It just makes everybody know more if they have all that information.
Oh, I'm sorry, I have to speak. Yes, the engineered stamp.
Microphone?
No, providing the name of all these public officials. I've talked to enough public officials so far who have received dozens, if not more, emails, calls. It's the point of harassment. I'm not going to provide people's names if that's what's going to happen.
I know, but we're trying to get you passed. We're trying to
I
get
hear
you,
you, but
we're trying to help you.
some
We're trying to
people-
provide you.
We're trying to get documentation.
Yeah.
And I'm happy to help the board with
Okay.
that documentation. Unfortunately, it becomes public, and these people receive a ton of emails and calls from certain people. Really, and I respond if I tell them everything they say.
If
You
you
don't need the name.
If you spoke to somebody at DEP, they're a public worker, you can provide us their name.
Good.
You're not going to.
I said I have for that.
So I believe.
I said it's public, and the reason I didn't initially provide it, I don't want to provide people's names so that they can be called and emailed and hounded into a Libby, if you need to know whom I spoke to at DEP, I can provide it. Or you could call DEP and talk to the water management program and ask them the same question I did. Because why would you believe anything I give you, apparently?
It's not our job.
Then why do you need his name, Mr.?
It's not our job to provide your information. You provide the information to us, and we can check on it.
Okay, that's pretty much what I'm saying.
Yep. Ma'am.
Benita Porter. You know, at the last meeting, there was discussion about how vague things were, and I expected at this one that there'd be more information forthcoming. And I would think that the applicant would want to, with the investment that he's supposedly going to make, pay somebody to provide a proposal that's in writing, and we know all of the answers that you've asked the questions to. It seems that there's a lot of work that's left to be done here. And I'm going to ask that this board table any further action on this special permit for a couple of reasons. Number one, that one, there's not enough information. But number two, there's still pending litigation in the Superior Court that can have a distinct outcome on, a distinct impact on the outcome of this, whether it's a viable project or not. Now, I don't know how long that's going to take. It could take months, it could take years, but the fact remains that it's a hypothetical. What you're dealing with right now is hypothetical. And that means that you're going to have to assume, make that great leap of assumption that he's going to prevail in the Superior Court. I think that that's not right. That's opening, if you vote for this, if you vote on this now, you're opening a Pandora's box, and you are going down that slippery slope, and we're not going to be able to come back. And I really think it needs to be tabled.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Who are you?
My name is Troy Fishback. I'm on the Group.
Okay.
My question is more towards the board's sort of mission. My understanding is that you look at the overall sort of feeling in the town and plan for the future and so forth and so on. How does this project help this town make it better, enhance the quality of life? And secondly, what is the precedent that you set by doing this? If another grower comes along, how are we stopping that from happening? Or another grower, or another one? Because we are a rural community with a lot of open land and a lot of owners who probably could benefit from selling large parcels. My concern would be the diminishing of the quality of our life. All of the points that have been brought out here tonight about the actual project are very important, but more so for me as a newer resident, it is the quality of life, the nature of the environment, and how this is not, in my mind, I'm not against marijuana by any means, but it doesn't seem to be helping the community or enhancing the community in any way. So from that perspective, I don't see the point of setting a precedent for that. Thank you.
Well, this is a zoning permit hearing process that relates to a particular use in a particular setting. It's not going to have a great benefit to the entire town that I can see. It will provide some tax benefit to the town, but it's not like we're bringing in some professional sports team who are going to pay their own way, so we don't have to pay it, if like that ever happens.
But it is a residential zone environment.
Yes, and the annual town meeting approved the portion of the zoning bylaw that deals with marijuana facilities, which includes provision for locating a cultivation facility in a rural residential area if it has certain features like 200-foot setbacks, and that's why it's possible for the applicant to make his application for this special permit. We don't want to put too many constraints on what people do with their property, as long as they're not bothering other people. The whole point of zoning is to keep people from attacking one another over
Seems like the
property
potential is
issues.
high that
Yeah.
they're bother their neighbors.
Yeah. So, yeah, but, so that's the way it is. I mean, we've heard the same sort of arguments relative to things like solar panel fields and that sort of thing. I mean, people with great, what used to be hay fields can't make any money on them, and they don't have the money to keep them that way, scenic though they may be. If they put solar panels on them, they make some money. The panels don't make any noise. They don't create any kind of odor, anything like that. Some people don't like it, but if it's not their property, are they going to pay the landowner to keep it in hay? I don't think so.
Mr. Chair?
Yes.
I do believe personally the location is as close to commercial as you're going to get residential.
Mm-hmm.
It's very close.
Yeah.
Proximity is, you can see the commercial properties from there.
Yeah.
And if we were talking about a greenhouse that was growing flowers, half these people wouldn't be here. But we're not.
Mm-hmm.
So I do believe we have to make sure the activity that is being proposed doesn't affect the neighbors. But as far as what he actually grows or what's actually going to be grown there, it's inside a building. I don't see one use for a building versus another use for a building having a great deal of merit here.
Mm-hmm.
It's what goes on outside of the building that'll affect the neighbors in the neighborhood.
Sure.
That I think we should be very concerned with.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
There's someone here.
Sir.
Bert Cox, I live 98 Molasses Hill on 9 Bar.
Okay.
There was a
Microphone.
There was a question last week about a fire suppression system in this building. Is this building fire suppressed?
Is there a fire?
For the building inspector, the architect, or the engineer, whatever they determine the law says, that's what it is.
It's under 7,500 square feet, technically, so it's not required. If it's over 7,500, it would be required.
Okay, so just 1,000 square feet requires 600 gallons of water per NFPA to put it out. So we're looking at, our fire department has 3 engines that carry 1,000 gallons and a tanker that carries 3,000 gallons and 2 people that are here during the week, during the day. The closest career departments we have are Sturbridge, Ware, and Spencer. So I'm just curious, what are the kind of the plans for fire suppression and if this thing burns? From what I understand, there's a lot of plastics and whatnot. Plastics can have heavy metals, PCBs, all kinds of methyl, ethyl, bad stuff. I mean, what is the plan to deal with that?
Building issue. It's not for me to comment, it's a building issue. Whatever the law says, that's what we'll do.
I raised those same concerns last meeting as well.
Like any other greenhouse you build, it's not required. If the law says it's required, you do it. If you don't do it, you don't build it. It's not for me to decide.
The head house, I believe, will have to have a fire alarm system, but that's up to your engineers to decide, because it's a commercial property. So.
Sir, you.
Tom Regan, 6 Mockingbird Lane, excuse me. There seem to be a number of concerns here, including odor, light, odor, water, and odor. Am I right? So, is there any way that the odor load coming out of the property can be measured? I hear volatile organic compounds being mentioned as the cause of the odor. So, is this measurable? And if it's measurable, can the applicant and the board do some research and come up with if we can get it below this number, it's good, make that a condition of the permit. And then it's whatever technology works. He's committed to a number. We are of the opinion, we believe that, or we know that that number is going to keep the level of smell down to a level that's not going to be burdensome on the neighbors. And it's like, but it's an objective measurement number, and then it becomes less of a trust and more of a measurement and verify. I will leave it to you to figure it out, but I just put that idea out there. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. This lady here?
Hi, I'm Tara from Molasses Hill Road. I was wondering about the facility. He had mentioned that he didn't need plants because it is a greenhouse. However, the plan was to use grow lights, which makes it a facility and not a greenhouse, correct?
That's correct.
Okay, so should there be plans put in place because it's a facility and not a greenhouse?
That's the way the subjective drawing has been given us.
Hi, Stuart Simons, 11 Molasses Hill. I am in a butter. Just one quick thing. So if the odor mitigation does not work, and you guys, best case scenario, I don't know exactly how it happens, but his permit gets pulled, too many complaints. Even if the permit gets pulled, the odor mitigation doesn't work and the plants are still sitting there, it's not like the problem is fixed the day the permit's pulled and we're still affected. So,
Right. The applicant has filed a bond for surety for removal of plant material and associated mechanisms and such by the CCC. So that's already on file. The bond is for $10,000. It's a fairly small.
It is a very small one.
Yeah. CCC requires a minimum of $5,000 on this. Were you advised, Mr. Fromm, by?
The bond typically has to be the amount of the licensing fee.
So this is coordinated with the size of the facility.
Correct.
Okay. Yes, Pat.
I have a question. It seems to me...
Get the microphone.
I'm sure people can hear me.
Oh, but it's on virtual.
All the time. My question is that Mr. Fromm is coming in with some vague answers. Is the general consensus of the people in the audience here. Has he hired an architect? Does he have a contractor already? Does he have a project manager already? These are the things that you should be asking him and see if all of these things are in line before you even consider giving him a permit. He's coming in and he's telling you that the water is fine because somebody he spoke to on the phone at whatever organization it is. How do you know that that's not the secretary? And the secretary said, yeah, go ahead, it'll be perfectly fine. My assistant says that to someone and she doesn't have a clue what she's talking about. So you can't go by what hearsay is from someone on the phone. He should actually get a report from the Commonwealth that indicates that this will work. Or he should have a company that he hires to come out and actually give a report that says, yes, this facility will work with this water, and this is the way that it's going to be, and we don't have to tap into the reservoir because there's plenty of water there. He hasn't done any of this. I mean, making a few phone calls to the state does not make it so. That just means that he's on the phone and he's making phone calls. But he's not really doing his due diligence by getting the work done by professionals. Where's the architectural drawings? Where are where is the report for the water? Has he done any groundwork on the ground? Has he done a tamper test on that ground? Has he considered how many wells that he's going to need on that ground? He hasn't. Has he brought anything to the fire department to see if the fire department would even be able to put that fire out in a quickly manner? So as far as I'm concerned, we're sitting here and we're listening to Mr. Fromm spin the wheel, but there isn't anything on the wheel worth spinning it for. He's just trying to blow smoke up our butts. And you know what? Nobody in this room nobody in this
Yeah.
room is willing to listen to him
Okay.
blow smoke.
Okay.
They want the answers.
Okay, that's 3 minutes, thanks. Yes, Karen.
Hi, Karen Reynolds. After listening to the DEP approval, I decided then to read what I had because I was just going by his word. This is from the Cannabis Commission. An important consideration for siting of a facility is the availability of water for production. Typically, water for a greenhouse or indoor facility would come from local municipal water or from regional water supplier like the MWRA. In the case of local municipal water, attention should be paid to whether the water supplier has enough capacity to supply the water from both the source and infrastructure perspective. And there has been no engineering review on this. Depending on the watershed and specific town the facility is located in, it may not be, I don't think this, we don't have anything with interbasin transfer 14, so I'll skip that section. If a grower chooses to develop their own local water supply, such as a new well, it is recommended that they contact the local Mass DEP office for guidance on a new source approval. A marijuana cultivation facility could trigger the Water Management Act's permitting requirements if it comes from its own water source. So he really does need to get the DEP in there. Or we can require it. It does say it's recommended, and that could be something that the town requires.
Mr. Chair, I can answer
Yes.
the question. 100,000 gallons a day before you need a permit.
100,000 gallons a day before you need a permit?
Okay.
Okay, so then we're talking about 2,800. Yeah. Okay.
It also has down about a restroom that is accessible to 25 or more people, is considered a public water system and will need to obtain approval. And they need a permit from the Mass DEP.
Right. You don't anticipate that 10 or 12 people?
I was listening to his numbers earlier last meeting.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, right. Exactly.
So he'll be within the numbers.
Okay, then why 33 parking spots?
That's just the way it's laid out. I can tell you that I highly doubt there'd be 30 people in this building. I've worked in buildings that are triple the size of this that don't even have that for this facility. The parking spots, that's just generic, more for just spinning around stuff and, you know.
Would there be any time in the growing and harvesting cycle where you'd have more people for a certain period of time?
No.
No? Okay. And the handicap spots are required by law, but and we assume that some people might actually have a plate that will allow them to use those. Either people who work for you or people who work for the CCC and came in to inspect you. Yeah. Okay. Great. Let me just read it. We have a couple more comments over the email here. This one is from John Wojdak of 42 Town Farm Road. I attended the meeting of the Planning Board on April 9, 2025. Didn't get a chance to speak. The area is zoned rural residential and therefore a variance should not be granted. Again, we don't grant variances. This would set a dangerous precedence. I attended the meeting and some things alarmed me, such as the owner's lack of experience in the area of marijuana growing and manufacturing, short resume is questionable business experience. I worked as an engineering field and as consultant for over 30 years. I am familiar with terms such as human factors engineering and hazards analysis, both of which were brought up by Mrs. Lepak last time. I believe Mr. David Fromm should not be granted a variance on these grounds. There's a reference to jobs. I worked in a factory for 12 years before changing careers. I wouldn't want to work in a place with the odors and possible long-term consequences of working such a place. We have a rather lengthy, no, not that lengthy, one just small print from Amy Vogel at 97 Lake Road. She attended the planning board meeting on April 9 to discuss the proposed marijuana cultivation manufacturing facilities at 6 Molasses Hill Road. I want to make it clear that I am not morally outraged by the nature of this business, nor do I have ambiguous concerns about unspecified impacts on children who simply see a marijuana processing facility. I do, however, have concerns about the specific business at this location. Many excellent points were made about the reasonable expectations of people who purchased homes in a rural residential area, about the impact similar facilities have had in other communities, and about Mr. Fromm's general lack of experience, expertise, and preparedness, as well as situations and incidents that call his character into question. I understand that not all of these issues translate directly into a legal argument against allowing this facility. However, I do think evidence-based concerns about cut corners and failure to follow proper procedures, which would ultimately put residents of Brookfield and our living environment at risk, are worth noting. Additionally, I believe excellent points were made about the repeated comparisons to Oak Home Brewery. And she goes on to praise Oak Home Brewery, and she says because breweries have been legal much longer and are legal at federal level, we know a lot more about their environmental impact and best practices. On behalf of people who are good friends and neighbors, I felt compelled to denounce the comparison between an industrial facility and their beautiful community-focused business that brings people together. And she's attached some URLs to articles that to which she referred. And she says, I cannot support this business being part of Brookfield. And then a letter from Diane Jarrett Crook at 14 Nanatomquot Drive. As a former chairman of the Brookfield Planning Board and currently president of Nanatomquot Mobile Home Cooperative, I would like to express my concerns about the possibility of a marijuana cultivation facility on Molasses Hill Road. Besides the odor, noise, water usage, and pollution, the traffic that would be generated would be of concern. If my memory is correct, the planning board has the right to hire engineers who would review the plans for the town at the expense of the applicant. I would urge this be done before any decision is made. Thank you for your efforts on behalf of the town of Brookfield. We've talked a little bit about that tonight. Letter from Charles Wilson. Brookfield Planning Board, my name is Charlie Wilson of 30 Fiskdale Road, and I am not in favor of allowing a manufacturing and processing plant. Shouldn't it fall under light manufacturing off of segments of Route 9? I thought yes, there was only a few spots for that in Brookfield. Thank you, Charles Wilson. And then finally, under the subject line of industrial cultivation and manufacturing facility in rural residential neighborhood, letter from Roland Blaze at 5 Maple Street. And Roland says, absolutely not, with 3 exclamation points. Okay. So that's what we've received, and most of that is duplicative of what other people have said here too, which is a good indication. Yes, sir. You are.
Let me just have a show of hands of everyone who supports this project. Just raise your hand if you support this project. There should be 2 in the front that do, but that's about it. So it doesn't take too many brains to figure out this is not one in this town. So I don't know why we're going through all this mess. It doesn't belong where he wants it. Go sell the land if you don't want to build houses. Go some other place where it's industrial land where you can go ahead and put your marijuana plant in and get this over. This is a waste of government time.
So, sir, why do you say it doesn't belong here? Why do you say it doesn't belong here?
Excuse me?
Why do you say it doesn't belong here? Why?
Because I live here.
Okay, but for what reason do you not like it?
Because it's going to stink, it's going to use a lot of water, it's being built in a residential area. We don't need marijuana plants. If you need to go to a marijuana plant for growing, every other town around here has one. Why do we have to have one?
They're not banned in this town.
I'm not saying ban it. I'm just saying, don't put it where it doesn't belong. And it doesn't belong in a residential area.
Okay.
That should be it.
Again,
No, it doesn't go in a...
You're entitled to your opinion, sir, and the ATM had a different opinion on that. Yes, sir.
Real quick question. Can we be
Hang on, microphone.
Can we be assured that if you go forward dealing with this special permit, that manufacturing is not going to be part of it?
That is a good question, and it is one that the planning board will have to deal with, as the applicant has asked for a waiver of that. We do not, as I've said several times this evening, we do not grant use variances, and the manufacturing in general is not allowed in rural residential area. Furthermore, in the marijuana section of the zoning bylaw, while we do not define marijuana manufacturing, we also say that anything that is not defined in that section will be defined by the way in which the Cannabis Control Commission regulations, that is, say, Massachusetts, Commonwealth of Massachusetts regulations, define it. And under marijuana manufacturing, not manufacturing license, but marijuana manufacturing, extraction, which is what the applicant wishes to do, is defined as a manufacturing process. So that's something that the board will have to discuss and come to an agreement upon when we deliberate on this subject.
I think it's pretty safe to say that none of these people want a manufacturing. I'm just going to throw that out there.
I would tend to agree with you.
Not saying we're going to go there. I'm just saying that's just my starting point.
Yeah. Yes, Beth.
I just wanted to make a couple comments, and I have a couple questions. So just from what I've seen at other public hearings for marijuana facilities in the state, the business tends to bring in engineers and subject matter experts that explain the plans to the public, whereas in this specific instance, we've had none of that. We have the business owner who brings his lawyer and just promises he's going to do what he wants to do. The second point I wanted to bring forward was that solar panels were brought up as businesses that negatively impact residents. But I wanted to point out that the town has a very significant amount of regulations around solar panels, including things that are as minute as like fencing requirements for wild animals, whereas there is not nearly as much regulation around marijuana facilities, and many of them have been actively attacked by individuals associated with the business owner and the business owner themselves. One specific example that I can think of is that the business owner went forward to the select board and jokingly, I'm assuming jokingly, requested to dissolve the Board of Health. And then my two questions are, this is kind of with the fire department side of things. So marijuana, from what I understand, and I think everyone can agree that when it is set on fire, it releases hallucinogenic aerosols. So are the fire departments equipped for that sort of situation where they're going to be dealing with like a mind-altering substance at potentially high concentrations and fighting that fire? And then this was brought up at the previous meeting, and I'm not sure if it was addressed, but did the business owner pay their back taxes as required and mentioned at the previous meeting?
Yes, that's what Yep. So, yeah, we haven't anything in writing from the fire department. I did call the fire chief and ask him about access for fire department vehicles. He said that he viewed it and that the access wasn't an issue. He has not said anything to me about issues with fighting fires at that place. Has he said anything to you, Mr. Fromm?
Didn't raise an issue.
He didn't raise an issue. Okay, well, I'll try and get something from Chief Martell in writing on that issue.
Thank you. Did you read?
Well, the issue with the fire, I'd like to bring, the greenhouse is no issue because it's a live plant. It's not gonna burn usually, right, per se?
It's not dry.
It's not dry. So the head house, as the gentleman behind you was saying, would greatly benefit from a sprinkler system. Because sprinkler saves lives.
I have a question.
Of course.
Very simple question,
Have a microphone.
but we don't need that. Yeah, I have a simple question. What type of security are we talking about for this facility? I mean, let's
Okay.
face it, this is a
Right.
place that has the potential of being broken into. So, in retrospect, you're going to have people that are going to be coming, thieves that are going to be coming. What are we going to do? This is abutting a residential area, so that means if they're going to break into that facility to get their pot, then they're probably going to go snooping around other people's yards. So that could be a potential hazard for the people that
Right.
live in that neighborhood.
There is a security plan that has been reviewed by the chief of police, and he has deemed it appropriate and adequate, more than adequate for this project.
Most cannabis places are required to have video coverage of every spot in their building.
Yep.
I'm talking everywhere, except for the bathroom. Everywhere is covered.
Kathy Landry, Fiskdale Road, not in a butter, obvious. You had mentioned that with the greenhouse, the only thing that's going to burn is what's there. There's a chemical feed system in that greenhouse to cut the smell. My biggest concern with what's going on here, in addition to the smell, I know he's trying to make it go away, but ClO2 has more than one byproduct. If it mixes with water, you're going to get chlorite. You get any of that crap in your well water, you're screwed. So, it's just bad planning all around. The greenhouse, from what I understand, has a dirt floor. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, so anything that's sprayed or put into the air in the greenhouse is going to end up in your soil, which will end up in your aquifer. If the aquifer is contaminated, everybody on the hill is going to have a problem. That's all I have to say.
Other questions? Yes,
I just have one question.
and you are?
Sarah Campbell, 26 Central Street. Did he provide any more information besides the aquifer statement? I know Chris brought up, some recommendations. So my question is, did he submit anything new besides the aquifer information?
Yes. Yeah.
So what we got this last round, you want me to go over?
Sure, go ahead.
I'm, of course, on the wrong month.
Yeah, there was the aquifer information, there was the traffic study.
Traffic north and south.
2019. Information on the
exhaust fans.
The exhaust fans too.
The aerosol material that's used for the extraction process that he wanted to use, and the actual machine that is supposed to do that.
And I have another question too.
And the exhaust fan decibel levels, which is easy enough to measure.
Do you not have the ClO2 report?
No, we got that too, the pure.
Yep.
Okay.
100-liter extraction system.
Yeah. And you had another question?
Yeah, I just had another question about the jobs. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought at the community outreach session that he had, I thought that he mentioned the jobs going to Brookfield residents or something along those lines. So is that still going to be the case? He said that there's only going to be 10 to 12 residents and that they need to be experts. So my question is, are those experts going to be able to be found in Brookfield?
Well, I think you
I
have.
can make a statement about experts, but the 10 to 12 would be greenhouse employees. As part of this plan will be to bring, excuse me, application for a special permit for retail, and that'll double the number of employees. So I would think 24 to 28 employees.
But let's be clear, there's no retail at this site.
Not on this side.
No. Okay.
That would be
So that's still,
application.
that's still in the future.
But that's the overall plan. The question was, will they be Brookfield residents? And according to the HCA, they have to be, at least for the first hiring period.
And they will be provided with expertise and training,
They will be provided with training, and they'll gain their expertise on the job.
and they'll be led by somebody who knows what they're doing.
Of course, the people that run it will not necessarily be from Brookfield, but they could be. They will have to have the expertise. They may have to be brought in.
Okay.
And one more question. If Mr. Fromm gets the permit, could he, or Sun Fusions, I guess, go 6 months from now and sell it to another cannabis company?
No, because in our zoning bylaw, it's not allowed to transfer that special permit.
Okay, so the new company would have to restart and go through the whole special permit process again? Okay.
Go through the whole licensing piece.
Yes.
My last question.
Okay.
If I may, to Mr. Fromm.
So,
I'll ask you.
yes.
If the litigation that's currently pending is decided in favor of the town, how does that impact on this proposed use?
Fast answer or short answer? No, long answer.
Okay.
Okay, so the litigation that's pending is because I strongly dispute a violation that was written on my property with 3 professionals and experts saying that the violation is incorrect. If I win that dispute, and it's just an administrative appeal in that case, then the violation goes away, and the RDA that I was granted by the Concom after thorough study of my plans, and which I stuck to meticulously, would simply stand. If I lose, I'll move the driveway 20 feet to the right.
What's that?
Say I'll take it out of the jurisdiction of the Concom by moving the driveway.
Right. Okay. All right. Mrs. Simons?
Yeah, Kim Harley Simons, 11 Molasses Hill. So page 1 of Sun Fusion's executive summary states that Sun Fusions has retained one of the industry's top professionals to consult in all aspects of the business and will soon announce a Six Sigma master to assume operational supervision. Who and where is this person? I'd also like to ask why there have been no boards or enlarged photos of the plans. I've been to previous special permit applications where they had experts, they had presentations of plans for residents to clearly see exactly what they would like to be doing. So yeah, where is this person and why did we not have any plans presented to us?
Okay. So, yeah, do you have a person in mind? You're a Six Sigma expert?
Oh, to run the operations of the
Yeah.
business? Yeah, we will hire.
But you have nobody in?
I have someone in mind.
You have someone in
It says they're on retainer.
They're on
I
retainer.
think
So that means...
I think we're a little bit ahead of ourselves here. There's certain things you spend a lot of money on ahead of the permit process, and there's other things that you wait till you get the license before you spend money. So I haven't hired the staff.
Yep.
Consultants, I've got several, actually. One of them sitting right here.
Yeah.
That's just the way it goes.
Yeah. And we have talked a little bit about what we have for plans. We have an engineered plan of the site. What we lack are detailed plans of the actual building and the mechanicals in that building at this point. All the plans that have been submitted are available on the internet. They're posted there, and they're in PDF form, so you can enlarge them and look at them too.
Yeah, but to Chris's point, an A&R needs to be presented. So I guess my question is, why didn't he take the initiative to actually present the plans to the board? To actually print them out?
Oh, we do have printed plans too, if you'd like to see it. It's same
He just
one.
didn't choose to do it that way.
Yeah.
It's just it's Mr. Fromm's choice.
No, I did choose.
Yeah.
Submitted full-size plan.
No, I mean, she was asking why you don't have people come up and do the whole spiel and show.
Big show.
It's his choice, unfortunately. I wish he did more. I wish he gave us a little bit more.
I really didn't know there was an appetite for that.
Yeah.
This is your first review of plan you might see.
Right.
So
Right.
if you need some stuff like that, I can, get those.
Mr. Chair.
I do think it's important when presentations like that are made that, again, the licensed engineering professional who's presenting the plan, whose license is on the plan, is doing the talking, doing the presenting.
Yeah, Bruce.
Is, Mr. Fromm, are you going to present the board with all the information you think you've heard here? So we can make a determination?
Mr. Clark, I can only present what I'm asked for that's not in the bylaw. We presented everything in the bylaw, then we presented everything that Kevin asked for last time. Now we're going to present everything you're asking for this time, so yes, everything you asked for.
I mean, you obviously you feel under a time restraint for this.
Not really.
Oh, okay then.
You want to continue it month after month?
Well, I mean, we're getting little bits of information to
You're
move
asking
forward.
for information. I'm providing it as fast as you asked for. I provided Kevin information within a week, and certainly all within 3 weeks.
Right.
And
But you're the one getting frustrated here.
I'm not frustrated.
Okay.
I'm tired. It's a long road.
Yes, we are.
You asked me for something I provided, including invitations to the site.
Yeah, I mean, there are obviously, from the comments that have been made and so forth, there are a lot of valid concerns, and there are concerns about issues of trust, and you put
I'm going
those.
to address that. I'm going to take a minute,
Sure.
if you don't mind, Mr. Chair.
Absolutely.
I've lived in town for 20 years. I've maintained my property for 20 years. You have a scenic road. About 1,500 feet of it is my property. I like the property. As far as my character is concerned, you don't have a standard for reviewing that. They leave that to the state, but I'm going to make a statement anyway. I'm not obligated to. I've seen you come to these meetings and wave around press releases from politicians as though you know what the hell it's about. You don't. I sued them because I am fairly litigious. When they denied the rights of people in recovery, I sued a major insurance company in the state of Massachusetts. They knew they were wrong. They gave me $1 million. In addition, they gave me a lot of grief because that's what you get when you sue the government. Now, I'm not going to tell you the whole story, but I'll tell you that it ended up with a counterclaim by the people who paid me the $1 million that I had done something wrong, and they shut us off. Now, it was 2014, and Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, had just kicked in, and I had not read the whole thing. I did not realize we all woke up in communist China. Under Obamacare, the provision for a hearing for someone accused as I was removed. I was never allowed to defend the company. For 18 months, they shut us off and didn't pay us. We didn't shut off a single patient. We tested every patient. We never closed our doors. I carried that place and the payroll for 18 months. When we finally closed the doors, it was because there was absolutely no way to win. They would not give a hearing. They did not want to hear it. When they owed me $1 million, I asked for it, and they denied it and used the accusations made by the insurance company I sued as their justification. Now, I have never been indicted, arrested, or brought up on a charge of fraud either civilly or criminally at all, ever, in 10 years of operation and investigation. However, I also did not want to fight about money. They owed me $1 million. They'd already paid me $1 million. It was a wash. This was off the whole time. Anyway, call me what you like. Just please don't do it in public, because I am not a public official, and my business does require a certain amount of reputation to be maintained. You can waive the press releases, but none of those press releases said I was convicted of a fraud, so don't call me a fraud. If you want to test my will to tell you the truth and my resolve to tell you the truth regardless of the outcome, then you ask me all the questions you want. You may not like me or the way I answer, but you will be able to verify what I tell you, just like you can verify all that information I gave you, and I will give you the name that you asked for at the DEP. I just want this situation to be less acrimonious. And I'm saying this not in arrogance, but because I do own the land and I've paid full taxes. I never put it in chapter. I've reserved my right to do with the land what I want. Now, you have the right to stop me. However, I haven't heard a good reason to stop me yet. I've heard a lot of abutters that don't like it, and I get it. I've done development for 30 years. You don't have to like it. You might not allow some of it. But as far as cultivation, I'm just going to end by quoting a former member of the board who said to me at a meeting one night when we were talking about this, and a lot of you were there, if you have to have cultivation, his property is the perfect property. Tell me a better one in this town that anti-cannabis people or abutters won't fight tooth and nail. I don't take it personally, I get it. But let's keep it focused on the project. We can make it better. You know, I can try to do things to please you, and but I really think it's going to be okay. And if it's not, there are all kinds of mechanisms, the state, locally, the HCA. There's ways to shut it down, which may be inconvenient, but would give you a certain amount of gratification considering how much it costs to set it up. That's really all I've got to say about the whole thing. I will continue to, whenever you like, I'll provide you anything you ask for. But at the end of the day, you'll need to vote. So let's just see how that comes out, right?
No. Why don't you hand us, go to another community, go some other place. What kind of package did they present that satisfied the planning board? Because that's what we're looking for here.
Understood. They get handed the packages that their bylaws require. There's a whole list in the bylaw that tells you.
We're not willing to guess at something. But if you hand us information, we'll review it.
I will hand you all the information that there is and find what I don't have, just as I did last time we were here and Kevin asked me to go find information. But I can't guess what it is that people are going to want to know.
That's why I said maybe you should go see another cannabis.
No, I've seen many. I do understand what you're saying.
How did they get their permits passed? What information did they provide? We're trying to satisfy the audience here, the residents of Brookfield. All we want is information.
I'll turn it over to the guy who does it.
If I can, I just want to say that I've seen many different projects in many different towns, and they're all quite different. And some towns barely ask for anything from the applicants, and other towns have an extremely intensive and detailed process. So I don't know if what other towns do is necessarily helpful. I think what we're most interested in is what this board wants from the applicant. And I would like to clarify a little bit what is being asked for. I understand that stamped drawings, right, for the building, the MEPs. And my understanding was separate from that, documentation regarding the chlorine dioxide odor control system, because I don't think that those would be necessarily encompassed in the engineered drawings. Is that?
Well, the odor mitigation system, the whole thing, like step one, doors that shut. Step two, no open vents. Step three, carbon filters. Step four, put the switch on so the chlorine hits the floor. Step five, you know what I mean? Like, there's got to be some.
Well, and there are companies out there that do this for a living that have an awful lot of experience on installing. It'd be nice to have one of those people either here or some
They
type
can
of...
just submit us plans with their documents,
type of
their
plan.
paperwork, their narrative. Like the sequence of operations. That's all we want, just generic stuff. And then, odor is the biggest issue. We know that. That's pretty much odor and light. That's all we care about. Everything else is kind of like, grayish. Water pollution. Water contamination, I should say. I don't think...
He owns one of the biggest bodies of water in the state. He physically owns it.
He owns it. It's his water. It's under his land. He has an aquifer. I don't think he wants to pollute his own water, especially as a grower. As we know, most growers try to be good for their own land, because it does no good to damage their own land. It doesn't. And I believe you're gonna do the best, but I think like those standard things providing.
Right, so I just want to drill down on what the board is looking for. I've heard there's been a wide range of comments from the public, but on my notes, I only noted those two things from the board, the stamped drawings and the documentation for the odor mitigation plan. Is there anything else that I missed?
Well, we talked about fire suppression plan, if any.
It's not required.
Not required.
I can tell you that.
Yeah,
I know that.
But there is a full fire alarm that was submitted.
Yes. No, there was none submitted. The fire alarm plan wasn't submitted.
Submitted to the chief.
Oh,
I'll
okay.
get a copy of the board.
Yeah.
It's with the alarm plan.
I would love that.
That went to the chief, and then he wrote the letter, but I can certainly get you a copy of the plan for security, which encompasses the fire alarms and escape lights and all the rest.
Yes, Pat.
Mr. Chair, through you to the attorney, how many facilities in this manner have you overseen with clients?
You mean construction wise?
Well, I mean, he's his attorney, he's representing him on this project
Or
as
so
an
for
attorney. I mean, how many...
permitting.
How many other boards have you appeared in front of in projects similar to this for a client?
Planning boards?
Planning boards?
Planning boards in other
zoning
towns.
boards, any board. How many other facilities have you overseen with clients, with their, well, I guess what I'm asking is how many of them have you escorted and represented at meetings?
The attorneys.
So I'm not going to talk about other planners.
He's answering these questions. I mean,
No.
has
3 minutes
qualifications.
cumulative.
How many other boards has he done this for? The reason that I'm asking this question is he looks dumbfounded when you asked him
Mr.
what
Chair.
what you're looking for and the requirements that the board is looking for. He's looking dumbfounded, and if I hired that attorney, I would think twice.
Okay.
Because he should already know the answers to this.
Okay, good. We got it. Okay. So, how many years you've been doing this, Kyle?
No.
No?
Kevin, no.
All right.
It's always question the professionals.
Yeah, okay. All right.
We're looking for his experience.
Well, what
You don't.
I just wanted to circle back. I just wanted the question that I had asked that I thought that was going to be your response to is what else is the board looking for?
Sure. Okay. So,
Odor control, and I guess if I read the board correctly, we'd like an engineer involvement in the odor control and how it works. Not that I'm going to understand how it works.
You will.
Yeah.
But if we can get some type of engineer's report on how this works.
Yep.
And that it does work.
You want to go to California?
No, even thank you though.
That wasn't like a personal.
No, I just, no.
Off the stands, anyone who wants to fly out there.
I'd say Bruce.
It's a business expense.
I'll say I don't recall your invitation.
On the front steps with that.
I do recall a conversation with the applicant. He said that if I joined the Conservation Commission, the conversation was over. So the conversation was over.
You can revise that. Would you like to go to California?
No, I would like you to bring the information to us.
Yeah, I'll do that.
All right.
So the only other thing I could think of that was kind of mentioned was waste removal, which is just compost.
wastewater. So control of.
It's on your plan.
Yeah, the waste.
Yeah, well, that'll be empty regular.
The waste removal, I don't think we need like a contract or something. I just think, like, we're gonna remove waste, this is what we're putting it, when we do this, and then we're gonna get rid of it within so many days, just a standard, like.
Yes.
I do think there's a document about that in the package, but I'll review it and revise it.
Yeah, I know there was something in there that had mentioned that you're having off-site removal of the waste. I just
So
don't.
we'll expand upon that then?
Just a little bit, just so everybody understands that,
Sure.
you have a plan. Business plans work. There's a reason you set up a business plan. It works. And then you revise, and you revise, and you revise, but you have a plan.
So I'm just looking at our bylaws that were just amended in 2023. And 13B states that the facility, so the planning board shall not issue a special permit for a marijuana facility unless it finds that the facility has received a provisional certificate of registration or provisional license from the CCC and is in compliance with all applicable state laws and regulations.
Right.
I don't think we should be back in this room until he has a provisional license from the CCC. And then we should move forward from that.
Okay.
Actually, I believe the board agreed to go forward with this, but not issue.
Exactly.
Vote on, but not issue.
Exactly.
It's a bylaw.
Yeah.
We wouldn't issue the license.
No.
We wouldn't issue the
Paragraph
SP.
14.
We wouldn't issue the SP.
Paragraph
We can
14 of the
approve.
document says you can waive any requirements. You can certainly do that.
So what is the difference between somebody growing flowers in a greenhouse and the nutrients from the fertilization process? What is the difference between your process, fertilizers, chemicals you use, entering the groundwater than any other greenhouse, entering the soil?
Are you asking as to the nature of the nutrients and chemicals put onto the flowers? Or?
Yeah, I'm just asking. There's been questions here tonight about soil saturation within the greenhouse, but being a possible contaminant. So should we be asking our greenhouses the exact same question that we're asking you?
You can't. They're agricultural.
Yeah.
Marijuana is not an agricultural product, mostly for tax purposes, but it's used to...
So I'm going to ask you the layman's question. Do you use standard fertilizer products?
No, you're restricted. You know what restricted.
Well, you can use standard plant nutrients, but there's certainly restrictions on pesticides, growth hormones, things like that. Things other than nutrients are heavily restricted. And so hardly anything that you could put on, just normal flowers could you put on cannabis plants.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get at the ground saturation, contamination
issue.
We use a drip system, so we're dripping directly into the plant. The drip system is in the plant, so the goal is not to have anything drip out, but you could get some stuff dripping out. I think it's useful to remember that in the rural residential, you can grow 100 acres of corn without anybody's permission, and you can dump as many tons of fertilizer on that corn as you want. It's going to go straight in the ground, and you can draw all the water you want and water that corn. We are going to be doing a fraction of that.
I'm just trying to get
I hear you, but that's the truth of it. We're not going to be putting anything like that kind of, if you want to compare it to something, a greenhouse that's growing flowers is not really concerned about the water. It's just they're dumping it in and it's draining out through the floor. We're very concerned about the very expensive nutrients not dripping out onto the floor. So from a financial perspective, we're motivated not to do that.
And is a concrete floor or an impervious floor? Wait a minute, hang on, let me finish my question. A deal breaker for you if this board said, that's some concerns we had from our citizens.
It's not a good idea. It's just not a good idea from the standpoint of the greenhouse itself, the employees, the amount of humidity it would generate, and it won't stop the water. And the water will just roll off onto the edges.
It can't stop the water if you do it right. You know that, and I know that.
Do you mean like a drainage system that then catches it in a bin? This is not hazardous chemicals, so there'd be no reason.
I'm just trying to get to the bottom of the question. Sure.
That's the conclusion I came to when I did it. It could be revisited, but I don't think that it's a good idea for marijuana. Humidity is the enemy.
Yeah. Okay. John, we have a question. John?
He was first.
Oh, is
Yeah, hi, my name is Brian Starrett, 133 Rice Corner. I understand that the applicant is not going to have a retail facility at this location. However, I also know that, and I think we all know that he recently bought the land over at the Clam Box. And I'm wondering, is it part of the plan to, assuming this piece becomes successful, to ultimately open a dispensary or apply for a permit for a dispensary at that location? And how does the board feel about that?
Yeah, if he intends to do that, that would be the subject of a separate permit.
John Washburn, 12 Maple Street. Isn't this a oil-based product from the leaves itself? Isn't it like sticky, and is that part of the process from the plants itself?
The
plants itself.
The plant itself.
An oil base.
I don't know what's the extraction like. Extractants like.
Was the question about extraction? That's not what I understood.
Well,
it's not petroleum, right?
Is it an oily extract, or is it?
Well, I mean, like many plants, there are oils inside of it. Is that the question?
It leaks in the ground. It makes oil and water.
Well, there's no. It's not a petroleum-based oil, but I mean, there are plant oils that exist in like those plants, as far as I understand.
So
that's how they smell.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it's not petroleum, but it's like vegetable oil.
Does that get in the soil itself?
But then it sounds like the man's concern is that oil not get into the ground.
Yeah.
That's no part of our process to put oil in the ground.
Okay. Yeah, because it's going to be held in the plant material until it's processed. Okay. Yeah. No. Okay. All right. So in summary, what are we asking? What can we ask them to bring?
Well, I mean, are we going to talk about the inevitable beast in the room, the manufacturing? Because that's not even touched.
Mm-hmm. I think again that's the subject for our deliberations once the public hearing is closed.
Well, the only thing is we close it that we haven't talked fully about it, and it's pretty contentious because bylaw says no.
Right.
Most of us were on that bylaw. 3 out of 5.
Yep.
That agreed with that.
Yep.
So that's an uphill battle.
Yeah. I mean, this is the information collecting part of the process. Then we put it all together in deliberation. So that's where the decision is made on that stuff. But yeah, no, I think the points have been made, and pretty well, and I know what they are.
Yeah.
So yes.
Will you schedule another meeting once all the information is provided in case we have questions about it instead of closing?
Yeah, we'd have to.
Okay.
We'd have to, because it has to be presented in a public forum. Once we close the public hearing, anything else comes out that's significant, it's too late. Unless we, with the agreement of the applicant, reopen public hearing, which we would then have to re-advertise as such. But
will you be scheduling that tonight?
yes, of necessity. Yeah, if there's, we have done this with other projects that were complex, and sometimes we've had to continue them to a date when the information that we needed was still not available. So we would open the public hearing and then continue it to another date when it would be more likely that we would have the information. But no decision would be made in any event until the public hearing process was completely closed. So what did you have on your list there that we've given you for?
Stamped drawings, documentation of an odor mitigation plan, the documentation of a fire suppression plan, and an expanded waste management policy.
Yeah.
I think I'd like to see an engineer's document, though. I want to see a stamp on it, or I want to see done by a professional engineer.
There must be
It has to be somebody that
yeah.
did it for these companies.
Yes, there must be some kind of professional who writes the, the regulations or the standards that these companies are using. The way we have professionals writing fire protection standards, for example. Is there somebody like that you could get to describe how these systems that are being proposed work and how well they work, and
yes,
yeah, that would be helpful, because it would be an objective third party.
I'll try.
It'll say HVAC architect.
Well, when you brought that up, I'll add HVAC.
Well, no, that's what they would stamp it under,
But-
because they're mechanical.
But I don't want to conflate the MEPs and the odor mitigation plan.
No.
So I'm not sure what the credentials.
Well, the odor mitigation plan will be pretty much in the MEPs, because they're going to be using the MEPs to do the plan.
Not in this case, because it's split systems.
It's still MEPs. It's still mechanical, electrical, plumbing.
But I'm pretty sure the odor mitigation gets taken over by the CLO2 people. But we'll make that decision.
However, I would love it, just because I think these people, if they have an engineer that says, we pour 6 whatever of this with 2 whatever of this and let it in an acre, we're good.
Well,
I'm sure somebody will provide you that, because you're going through CCC. They you got to provide them, right?
There's things you provide, yeah.
Yes.
Once all of this documentation, these plans are submitted, would the board be inclined to, someone mentioned, hire an engineer at the expense of the applicant to go over all of that? Would you be inclined to do that?
We could, and we'll look into where we might find such a person too.
I would think if we're not satisfied, then we would have to go to step number 2, would be find somebody who can read whatever information we have and convey it to us in a manner that...
But the way I look at it, we're lay people.
That's right. No, that's
and,
right.
There's people out there who know this stuff,
And that's why we're asking for some kind of a professional drawing stamp that we can...
You still might have questions.
That's right.
If I may, of course you might have questions, but can we expect that this board will accept the professional opinions of stamped engineers, of professional people, and not, as has happened tonight, call them into question? I mean, we have to, at some point, trust the people that are certified and licensed and bonded to give us the answers that we rely on, no? Because we can't all become experts.
Yes.
I will get the drawings you want, and I'll have them certified by whoever they have that does that, an industry standard, but I can't guarantee you the kind of degree they'll have, because it's not my field. Hopefully it'll satisfy you.
And if the people who are providing that information can also provide some background on their experience and training and education, that sort of thing, that's standard operating procedure for those kind of reports too. All right. Okay. All right. Then.
Wait, sorry, we have a hand.
Yes. Dave.
Hi, Dave Holcraft here. This is to the planning board. You got a gentleman here, applicant, who's coming to you with a special permit. He's going after the conservation with a lawsuit, and you still I hope you don't make a decision before that's rendered. Number 2, he's trying to override fairly new bylaws, manufacturing in a residential neighborhood. He's trying to do that. He's got a building. He's got all that beautiful land up there. Why doesn't he put that building way in the back? Get it away from the residential neighborhood. There's no reason to have it stuffed right in the residential neighborhood. And all these people wouldn't even be here. If you put it way in the woods, they wouldn't care. But they do care because it's in their neighborhood now. And you people here have got to be representing us out here. You have to make the right decisions. You have an application in front of you, it's flawed, it's full of holes, it doesn't even match up with what he says. He says one thing and the application says another. And we're still moving forward. When is the health board going to weigh in on this too?
Not our part.
When?
That's not our part.
Okay, well, when are they going to weigh in? After you
You'll have
make
to
a
ask
decision?
them. You'll have to ask them.
Okay, so you have an applicant here, and he's not trying to work with the town, that's for sure. I mean, that's already been proven by this guy. So I hope you all listen to these people here tonight. They've been here twice, and they're going to keep coming back here. And this is the first time you've done an application with marijuana. I don't have a problem with him growing in a greenhouse. He's got a beautiful place up there, but he's trying to put it in the residential neighborhood. He should put it in the woods. Then you should consider all these applicants. Huh?
It's still the same neighborhood, it's residential.
It's right, with manufacturing, yes. You can't do that in a residential.
No.
But growing, he can.
His land is residential.
Yes, I know that, but we're talking, he can do that in a residential neighborhood, but he can't manufacture in a residential neighborhood. And he's trying to do that with this
I think
application.
we've talked about that.
Okay, so consider that before you guys make a special permit.
For sure, Dave.
Yeah, for sure.
I have a question.
Certainly.
My question is that my question is that he's going to be growing the marijuana, and he's going to be cutting it and taking it away. He purchased the old clam box to open up a marijuana store, right? A distillery, is that what they call it? Where is the manufacturing going to be done in between the cutting and the selling?
That's none of our business, ma'am, right?
That hasn't been. If he doesn't get the permit for manufacturing, that as part of this permit, then he's going to have to find another place that's in a more appropriate place for it.
Do we allow that in town as per our bylaws?
In terms of manufacturing?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yep, downtown.
Downtown, in the village,
Yep.
No,
Not in the village,
Not in the village, in Business B.
Yep.
which is.
On the
Clam
maps.
boxes.
I don't know that, I think Clambox is Business A.
I think it's just outside, yeah, right?
Yeah.
All right, so we're talking down by like A1.
It could be any place that
That
wanted
area?
to sell or lease their
Mill
area to it.
Street?
Yeah, okay, all right. Yeah, it's the zoning map, which is available in the assessor's office, will show you exactly where Business B is
that
located.
online by any chance?
Yes, it is, actually. They've put it online now. It's on the Brookfield webpage.
It used to be on the wall here, wasn't it?
Yeah, but the one that was on the wall in the assessor's office was taken down. It's now lying on the counter.
Oh, because it's here. To go with your point, he doesn't even have to manufacture. He can outright sell it to a different company.
I understand
Okay.
that he can.
Yeah, he doesn't have to
sell it
do
to
vertical
someone else
integration.
who's
He
gonna
can do whatever he
I
wants.
get that,
Yeah.
but then he would have to buy it back from them to sell it in his store. So, I'm just wondering.
No. Okay, thank you. Yes, sir.
Would it be possible to give us a few days to maybe email a note to the planning board about any other items we might suggest adding to the list of information we'd like to see?
Absolutely, yeah.
Not to grow the list to some, but you'll review it. And,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
I think we can offer some.
Yeah. So I would propose that we continue this meeting to the planning board's regular June meeting, which would be June 4, 2025, the day before the annual town meeting.
Oh, it's getting brutal. 2 nights in a row?
Oh, gosh, yeah. But is that acceptable, everybody?
Yeah.
Consensus here? Okay, fine. Then we'll schedule a continuation for June 4. 7 p.m. We'll start the meeting at 6:30 and clean up all the usual business.
May I?
Yes.
Anything else?
but now that you have between now and then, just give me
If we think of anything else, we will.
whatever they come up with, whatever you.
Yeah.
Can we?
But
Can we
there should be
say?
a time frame.
Yeah.
Can we say 2-week cutoff?
You know, Mr. Fromm has, you know.
Yeah. Okay.
It should be
So
time.
for in the next couple weeks.
2 weeks, right? And then whatever you've submitted by then, I can be expected to get to you by the meeting time.
Okay.
Thank you.
And the MEPs, I want to just say, you don't, they're not, I'm not saying like full, you know what I mean? Okay. Good.
You'll accept what you want.
One more item. I think the reason why the MEPs are important because the mitigation is all about treating the air. And you need to know how much air you're going to be pushing out of that grow facility.
It's a good question.
It is good.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Nelson.
All right. Good. So, all right. So we'll adjourn this session of the public hearing.
Continue to.
Kevin, does the planning board want to put a list together for Mr. Crum?
His lawyer has it.
His lawyer.
Requirements that you're looking for?
No. His lawyer has it. We've dictated it to him just now.
Did we already close it? Did we take a vote?
No, we didn't close the. We're just continuing it. So that
Yeah,
doesn't require-
but are we going to close tonight's planning board meeting?
Oh no, we haven't done that.
Planning board.
But that's all we have. That's all there is. So I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make a motion to adjourn at 9:22.
Actually, it's 9:16.
9:16. My eyes are bad.
Jeff seconded. All in favor, please signify by saying your name and I.
Chris, I.
Steve, I.
Jeff, I. Kevin, I. And Lisa. Lisa's up too. Okay.
Yeah, I second.
Thanks for hanging in there, Lisa. Thanks, Tom. Thank you.
Kevin's the best.
You know, it's hard enough in usual times, but when it's something new like this that we haven't done before, you know, it's flying by the seat of your pants.
Jeff, hell of a job tonight.